right, I'm recording, and we'll say 5, 4. Peak Marketers, this is Bill Guthrie, and I am excited to welcome our feature speaker and guest today, Justin Popovic. Justin is an entrepreneur, coach, speaker, and trainer. He's the founder of bestqualityplr.com and toolsformotivation.com, which specializes in digital content licensing. We'll cover all that in a minute. Justin has a huge passion for business and personal development, and he blogs about these principles at igniteyouressence.com. Justin, are you ready?
As ready as I'll ever be, buddy.
I love it, man. Well, let's get started. Help us to understand a little bit about who Justin Popovic is, and tell us a bit about your business.
Sure. Well, thanks, first of all, for the introduction. Well played. I've been an entrepreneur now since 2008, the beginning of 2008. Before that, I think a lot of people watching or listening can probably relate to my story. I was in the corporate world, used to work for a great, big, huge company. You might have heard of them, 3 letters, IBM. And I did the big corporate thing that like a lot of us do. And even if you're not coming from a corporate background, you have a job of some sort, I'm sure you can relate to a lot of the struggles that go with that. I'm a lot like you, Bill, in the sense that I don't take my freedom of time very lightly. So when somebody else tells me where I have to be, what I have to do, what I have to sell, it drives me a little crazy. And so I was really motivated, even from the earlier days of being in the corporate world, to break out and do my own thing. But I never really had the coaching or the tutoring or mentoring growing up to say that that is an acceptable path. Like the only path I was ever taught was you go to school, you get a job, and you do that kind of thing, which I think is what most of us hear, right? So in 2008, I quit my job and started my own business. Problem was I didn't really have much of a plan at all. I got all hopped up on some motivational tapes and books and stuff like that. And I was on top of the world, and I was like, yes, I can do this. I can start a business, and everything's going to be great. The only problem with that is you actually have to have a business. A business is something that sells stuff. I didn't have any of that. I thought I could just make it work on the fly. So basically, long story short, I'm sure we'll get into some of the downfalls of making a decision like that. But long story short, I kind of stumbled and fell my way through a bunch of failures till I eventually found some stuff that worked. And it led me to the business I run right now that you introduced off the top, called Best Quality PLR. And we have a sister company, Tools for Motivation. Effectively, what we do is we create rebrandable licensed content. So someone like yourself, Bill, could buy one of our packages, and we create pre-made digital products for people. So let's say you wanted to, train your customers on a topic like growing their self-confidence or reducing their procrastination, or even a marketing topic like how to set up a sales funnel. We create digital info products that actually teach an end reader, an end user, how to do this stuff. But we publish the material with no author name. And we also provide all kinds of marketing materials. So again, someone like yourself could pick this up. If you already have customers, turn it into a product that you sell on your own website, and you've just cut your workload down by about 90%. So we make our money by taking your money for building it for you, but you save a ton of time, right? Because now you're not spending all of your time cranking out content. We've done a lot of that for you. You may spend a little bit of time at the end putting your name on it, adding some of your thoughts to our material, but at the end of the day, you have a good quality product that actually teaches people tangible lessons, and you didn't have to do all the heavy lifting to create it. So that's effectively what we do in our business. It's what we've been doing, and I say we, I have a business partner, Ted. We've been doing this since 2010. So there's a gap in there. If you remember, I said we started my business in 2008. It was about 2 years of not really making much money where we figured all this stuff out. So 2010 to now is what we've been doing with this whole content licensing thing.
And what kind of brought you into the world of PLR? How did you kind of identify that and say, I mean, was it from your own struggle and you said, man, what I really need is a product, and you saw that opportunity? What was your process of getting to that place?
It was a little bit of that. What it was in those 2 years of massive failure, I'm going to call it, but it was a learning experience. Let's call it learning. It's a little more positive. In those 2 years of learning, my business partner and I basically figured out ways to just make money, to pay the bills and keep the lights on. And one of the major things we did was service-oriented stuff, building websites for people, doing SEO for people, a lot of different techie things. I had a tech background coming from IBM, so did my business partner. So again, whatever we could do to keep the lights on. And a lot of what we did was educational in nature. So somebody would come to us needing a WordPress website or just a website in general built. They didn't just want the website, they wanted to know how to actually manage it, run it, use it, evolve it moving forward because all their previous designers or developers built the site and then left them high and dry and they wanted a real solution. So what we found was we were spending a fraction of our time building the actual stuff we were paid for, like the WordPress site, but a larger chunk of time actually training, saying, okay, if you want to update your website, you got to do this and that, and if you want to promote it, you might want to use Twitter or Facebook, or here's some things you can do for search engine optimization. And over time, we realized, geez, we've really got a lot of good training content here. Because I would record these videos. I wouldn't just call the customer and say, do this. I would actually make a little ScreenFlow video, which is just a little app I run on my Mac that shows people what I do on my screen. And before we knew it, everybody, all of our existing customers were reusing this stuff over and over again. So I'd do the work for customer A, customer B, C, D, E, and F were all using the exact same video I created for customer A. So a little light went off in my head. Like, this is a reusable asset. This is a business here. This is better than just selling our time. And so we actually created a little members area for all of these paid clients. And I wanted to keep it full. And what I realized was that I couldn't do all of it myself. There was so much I wanted to teach them, and I didn't want to have to be on the hook for creating a training video every time. So I actually became a PLR consumer. I found a couple people selling private label rights courses and videos, and I would put them up in my members area. And I thought to myself, well, I could easily do this because the stuff I'm buying is kind of subpar quality at best. And our stuff's quite good, if we could say so ourselves. So that's how we kind of got into it. It's like, here's an opportunity. We're good at it. People are using it and getting results. Let's copy what these guys over here are doing and beat them at it.
Gotcha. So you basically established what your what that business model was going to be, best quality PLR. What was your biggest hurdle or stumbling block to kind of really moving that thing forward and getting the momentum that you needed? And how did you overcome that?
Yeah, great question. I think the biggest hurdle was there was two really. First big hurdle was lack of exposure and traffic, which I think is everybody's going to nod their head and agree. I've got a great idea. Nobody knows about it. Well, great. So that was the first one. The second big one is if you look at what we're doing, we're creating content for people, pulling our name off of it and selling it over and over again. Creating content is not something that happens overnight. It takes quite a bit of time to do that. So if we wanted to build a lot of stuff, build up a big archive of lots of things to sell to people, that was going to take a ton of time. And so I was and so was my business partner, we were very averse to outsourcing and delegating because we had control issues. And over and above that, we didn't have a lot of money. Even though we were selling PLR, we were starting small. It's not like we could go and hire somebody for $2,000 to just start writing our content for us. So those were our two biggest hurdles: is how do we get people to know about us, and how do we actually build more of this stuff? The way we overcame the first one with the exposure thing was actually, it started in a couple different areas. One was getting involved in a few different marketing forums where we started networking with other people who sold this stuff. Pretty common path to success, right? Find other people that are doing roughly what you want to do and rub shoulders with them, get to know them a little bit, see if you can affiliate with them, let them become your affiliates. And that's eventually how it worked. Was I went to some live events. I started buying their stuff and becoming a customer just to get on their radar. Whenever possible, I would refer, my Facebook friends to their products or whatever, just doing what I could to make a bit of a name for myself in that business. And what we found was that between the forums that we were kind of lingering in, a couple Facebook groups, and the people we were getting to know, that we were starting to get enough exposure to the products that we were creating in the beginning to at least break even. So, it maybe cost us a bunch of our time and a few $100 to build a PLR product. And over a weekend or maybe 6 or 7 days, we could recover that money with a short campaign or promo. And then it was literally just doing that over and over and over again. And you and I have talked about this in the past, and I've talked about this to many people, but doing it long enough where you get past that excitement phase, right? Everybody, when you first start a business, you get a new idea, it's exciting and you're motivated. And for sure at some point you're going to reach this peak of motivation and you're going to get tired and sick of it. That's where most people, quite frankly, especially in digital forms of business, they give up because it was so easy to set up this website or this new idea. And then they run out of steam because they're not really invested. It's not like you opened a store or a restaurant and you got to plug this thing out. They're like, well, that used to work last week. I'm going to move on. So that was what we did. Was we stuck with this thing, making almost no returns for like a year and a half. But now we were creating a product a week at this point. So now we had a library of 60 plus products that we could start bundling and doing custom deals. We could go to people that actually had bigger lists and say, look, we've got this archive of content, it's really good quality, that would cost your customers probably 10 grand, let's say, to actually buy it. Why don't we run a special deal here? We'll do a really, low price offer for your list. We'll split it 50-50 and we'll get it going from there. And that's what we did was we literally just played the patience game. We waited it out a good eight, like I said, 12 to 18 months to the point where we had enough momentum, and anyone else that would have tried it would have likely quit at this point. I swear to you, a lot before this actually. Most people would have given up, 3-4 months into this thing, and that's I think our one little secret was we stuck with one idea, even though it didn't really seem like it was going to work. We just stuck with it for whatever reason, blind faith maybe.
Well, and I think at some point, you're building a business. People, you get into this aversion of the word job, but I mean, whatever you have to do on a daily basis to move your business forward, it's kind of a job.
Oh,
And I think
absolutely.
you need to look at it like that. And yes, you get to a point where, okay, now I don't have to work that job nearly as hard as I did at the beginning. But I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
every great startup company you've ever heard of, you didn't hear them say, "Oh yeah, we only worked like about 8 or 10 hours a week." And
Yeah,
and then we went public 6 months later. Like,
yeah,
no, they're
exactly.
literally like, we would work 20-hour days,
Yeah,
for a year to finally get this thing off the ground. Luckily, I don't think we have to do that much effort, but you still have to kind of have that form of dedication and focus to be able
absolutely.
to move that thing forward, right?
Yeah, and I think the other thing along the lines of this conversation is we had enough evidence that to know that this was actually working. So I wouldn't say, stick with a plan for 18 months if you're not getting any evidence of success.
Right.
Obviously, you stop in those situations. I think that's the careful balance that a lot of new entrepreneurs struggle with is like, man, do I put any more time and effort and money into this thing? Am I chasing something that's going to lose? In our case, we knew that we were just making gradual tiny little percentages of increase and slight successes over time, enough to know that it was going to work. And again, something else may have gone faster, but then again, maybe not, because we would have quit this other thing that was already building momentum in the background and we didn't know how big it was going to get. So I think you have to evaluate it at that stand. Like obviously, if you're making $0 after 6 months, you might want to reevaluate. But if
Right.
you are making some returns and it's going in the right direction, stick with it. Pour more energy into it. Maybe get some advice. Maybe save, a couple $100 from your next launch, or maybe more. Hire a coach for an hour that knows what they're doing and get them to look from an outsider's perspective and say, yeah, you guys are doing well here, but try this, and it might give you that little X factor to go a bit further. So that was a big deal in terms of exposure. And then from an outsourcing perspective, it was literally just the act of forcing ourselves to stop doing it all ourselves and actually delegating the work and trusting that other people could do this. Once we actually got over that mental hurdle, the control factor, I think that's all it was, because we we're calling ourselves best quality PLR. I mean, you want to have a high quality product, but at the same time, you can't fuss over every last word in your ebooks that you're creating. You eventually have to release something. So once we got over that, we got in the habit and the discipline of every time we made a profit to automatically pull back some of those profits and reinvest them into the business, which meant, in our case, hiring good people, but also creating processes that were repeatable. So if we were creating a product, we wouldn't just say, for our next product, create another product like this one. We would actually create a template. The ebook should follow this format. It's a Word doc. It's got these headings, these settings. If it's a graphic, we're going to use this style of graphic, this sales page, this format, and so on. And anywhere possible, we were templating, uh, putting procedures in place so that we could get a return on those outsourcing investments. Because I think a lot of people jump the gun. They want to outsource or get a VA from the Philippines or whatever, which is great, but make sure that, excuse me, you have some kind of process in place to ensure that you're going to get a return on that money, even if it's $100. Make sure you do it right. So once we did both of those things, the business really started to take off.
Well, speaking of taking off and momentum, what do you consider your single greatest business achievement?
This is actually an interesting answer because it kind of offshoots what we've been talking about already. I have another course that I didn't mention in the intro, but it's a good time to mention it now. So it's called Prod Create, so PROD Create, and it's a video training course that I created after this was maybe 4 years in now to our PLR adventure. We had created probably 100 plus products at this point. I knew a fair bit about what it took to take an idea and turn it into a digital product and actually sell and launch it and make money. So what I did was I reversed engineer everything I learned over those 4 years and turned it into a modular video training course that would literally walk anybody that has some kind of expertise or knowledge or advice that's worth money, right? So if you're an accountant, your knowledge on number crunching and all that is worth money to me as a business owner. It doesn't really matter what your knowledge or experience of advice is. You can turn that into a digital downloadable product and make money at it. If you want to make lots, you would probably want to go into a niche or a market where there's already lots of other products to prove that there's a market. But at the end of the day, I could take anybody that has some kind of experience in their life, which is almost everybody I know, and show them how to turn it into a digital product, which is what I do at Prod Create. And I've had a lot of students go through this, follow it, literally follow it step by step, and actually produce a product that made them money. And I know many of my students have tried with other courses, many different training systems to do that and not actually get the result. But I'm pretty proud to say that what I build at Prod Create, along with my business partner as well, it actually is, if you follow every single step, it actually produces that result, which I think is the holy grail of info and training products. Is most of us can create training, but it's really hard to get your students to follow through all the way to the end. I'm not saying all my students have, but the ones that have actually had great success stories. I'm pretty proud of that. So it's a bit of an offshoot, but it is related to PLR because I learned how to teach people that stuff by building lots and lots of PLR products and launching them.
Well, yeah, because in a certain way, I mean, obviously, the fact that you've created and published so many products, I would assume that you're pretty good at it, and you know the formula and the for various types of products. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah, and it's funny because one of the things I say my weaknesses in business is like writing copy, persuasive text and all that. And I really just I'm not a huge fan of it. I think it works. I'm not going to argue. It definitely works. But on my Prod Create sales letter, my hook to buy is I link to my two catalogs at my PLR site, and I say, if you want a reason to buy, go look at these two catalogs. And there's like 200 plus products. There's the proof. We've built 200. If you want to learn from someone who's done it, click buy. That's basically how my sales pitch works. But for me, I'd rather do it that way because then it's based on proof and results and not some huge psychological thing that I'm getting you to click my button.
Well, let's shift for a second. So marketing is about presenting the right offer to the right people at the right time. So now's our time to get some secrets out of you that you can share with the Peak Marketer family. So Justin, what is your favorite traffic source?
It's kind of a boring answer, but it's the truth. And it's my list, my mailing list. So I imagine if you ask this to some other people, they might give you the same answer. But I'll kind of add to it to give you a little bit of substance here. The reason it's my list is because my list is almost exclusively, I'm going to ballpark and say about 90% buyers. I don't do a whole ton of freebie list building. I get, we have sources of traffic, but I get people to buy something from me, and then I put them on a preferred list, and I email that list on a fairly frequent basis. So they stay in touch, stay in touch with me, get to know who I am, to the point where a big part of our revenue generation in my business, because we sell a lot of, we're in the content creation business. I almost think of us like a newspaper sometimes. Just people want new stories, new stuff. Almost every single weekend, we run a special promo. A lot of the time, it's exclusively just for our past customers. And just those promos alone bring in enough revenue to keep the business going. So all of our other initiatives, when it comes to paid traffic or launches with affiliates, it's kind of like bonus cash. But just our list produces enough traffic to our new offers to keep the business going. So if there is ever a reason to build your own list, especially a buyer's list or customers, that to me is the holy grail of it. But it didn't happen overnight. I'm talking now to you 5 years after we started this thing, hundreds and hundreds of broadcasts later, where many of those broadcasts were 30, 45-minute videos that took me days to produce of delivering nothing but free training, showing people how to use my product, putting my cell phone number on my sales page, on my members area, on my support pages, like calling people on the phone. I have a sales guy that will follow up with every single buyer from a $9 purchase right up to whatever dollar value, and call them or get on an email with them and make them feel like they're actually a buyer and customer. That's how that became a great source of traffic from me is because we invested into it. It's not, we didn't just build a list off of a squeeze page from a solo ad or a Facebook campaign. We built it off actually generating real relationships with people and being willing to pick up the phone and call them, which I think very few people are willing to do in this day and age, which is silly to me because if I didn't do that at IBM, I wouldn't have kept my job. So why should I keep my job working for my own self if I'm not willing to do that kind of stuff?
That's awesome, man. And that's a great perspective. I think so often you can get inundated with this if you create a product and do a launch and get 3,000 new customers in 72 hours.
Yep.
It does become a challenge of of true one-on-one touches, but
Absolutely.
I do really value what you're saying about this sense of just continue to create value, make the consumption, the usage of the product, the information, whatever it is, make it easier, add value to it, add more and more to it. So I think that's a really great piece of advice.
Yeah, and just to your comment about the 3,000 customers thing, absolutely, it's within scale, but it's still you'd be surprised. You do 3,000 units, only a small percentage of those people are probably going to need some kind of personal touch and handholding. But just the fact that there is a number, a real number that people can reach, uh, is huge value for the subscribers. And having somebody to follow up, again, within budget, but it doesn't cost a lot to have somebody go through your buyers list and just send a quick personal email saying, hey. I'm the account manager for so and so company. Just want to make sure you got your download. We're here with a personal contact to make sure if you have any problems, here's how you get a solution. And you may add a thing. We just finished a launch. It may take me 2 or 3 days to get back to you, but I want to assure you that we are here to help. We're not going anywhere, and that puts people's minds at ease, especially if they just drop $1,000 on your product. That would make me relax a little bit, and not oh, where have they gone with my money, right?
That's a great point. Do you have any advice for sales funnels? Do you have any kind of a sales funnel that could be a front end offer? It could be an upsell. It could be something into a continuity or a recurring membership or something that's worked effectively that you could share with us.
Yeah, definitely. I'll basically give you a sales funnel right through the top to bottom, how we often run them. With our PLR, now this is kind of PLR related, but you could apply this to a number of different categories of business. We usually offer a single offer on our front end. So for us, it might be like we did one last week. It was a PLR product about how to reduce worry in your life. Big self-help topic. So people could buy a license to this content, repackage and sell it as their own. Once they purchased that, they would get to a secondary offer, which was 5 additional PLR packages, similar but different. But if you think about the end consumer, if you're teaching somebody how to overcome worry so they can achieve more goals in their life, we had 5 additional packages that dealt with things like your self-image and confidence and self-esteem and all these different things that would actually enhance the lessons that you give those people. So that was our upsell. It was a pricier package, but it was a lot more content. And then we had another upsell for people that wanted to take it much further, which was sort of this totally done for you system. I don't want to go into the details of it, but it was what we like to do is we make them very closely related, and they're not required ever. So if you bought the front end, the upsells are always totally 100% optional. And at the top of the sales page for all of our upsells, we actually remind them, we just have a little thing saying, if you don't want to look at this, head to the bottom, you can skip right over it, no worries. And then on the download page, what I like to do is, before they get to the download button, I usually embed a nice little video that explains a little bit about our membership program. That's sort of, as the business owner, every day I'm thinking, how do we get more and more people to subscribe and become monthly members, because that's our guaranteed monthly cash, right? So there's this nice video. It's optional if they want to play it. We get a ton of plays on it. And then again, if you want to skip over this video, your download's below. But a lot of people will watch that video, and then they'll actually, in some cases, depending on the promo, get an offer for a discounted option to join the membership because they just bought a bunch of stuff from us. So we want to kind of reward them for taking action. So that's sort of a front to back. Nice offer on the front, couple upsells, and then the download page is a nice continuity into something we already offer, and it's going to give them way more of something they already bought for a fraction of the price. So maybe your front end unit was $15-20. You get a similar product when you join our membership for more like $1 or $2 a pop when you add up how much you get when you become a member. Yeah. The other little thing I'll mention is that when possible, it doesn't always apply depending on how the size of the launch, but on the front end, I use this plugin called FlyZoo. and it allows me to pop up this little chat window. Kind of comes in the bottom of your screen, and I actually sit there live. In the cases, especially when it's just my list, this works great because there's not a ton of traffic hitting it that I can't manage it. And I put a little message saying, "Hey, it's Justin standing by." And I give a phone number as well. And I actually make a little joke in there saying it's actually me if you want to test it. It's not somebody I'm outsourcing it to. And I take questions on the fly. If we have like an expiring launch, there's a day or two left, and people are kind of unsure, they're on the fence, and I actually engage. And in some cases, I'll have like chat windows all over my screen here, and I'll go through one by one, and I'll answer their questions or handle their objections. And in some cases, tell them not to buy because they're thinking, "Oh, I want to do this," and I'm thinking, "No, no, don't buy it because this is not a good fit for you." But it saves it, and I get this huge archive of questions that I then use as inspiration for my next sales letter. Because now I can kind of know, all right, what were the objections last time? What was stopping people from buying, or what was some of the things that I could reinforce in my sales letter? And I use that. So that's a great plugin. You can start free, and then you can upgrade for like $10 a month. Turn that on when there's a reasonable amount of traffic. Obviously, if you have hundreds of thousands of people hitting your sales page, probably can't pull that off. But if you have a list like mine where you're just going to run a promo for your customers only, perfect time to use something like that.
That's great. Which part of marketing do you wish that you personally knew more about?
Biggest one for me would be paid advertising. Right now, I rely a lot on my own list and affiliates to get people to see our new offers and to take action on those things. I have a little bit of experience buying traffic, but I have a real challenge, and maybe you can relate to this, understanding my return on the investment. So if I spend $500 or $1,000 on some kind of ad campaign, to track those new leads through my funnels and to know, okay, in a month, 3 months, 6 months, what was that actually, the $1,000 investment worth to me? Haven't quite cracked the code on that yet. Have in some cases. It's a little bit cryptic right now, so we've actually hired somebody to help us with that. So
there you go. Yeah, that's definitely something that you'd like to be able to, Yeah, I get it.
Scaling, right? If you can buy traffic, you can scale.
Exactly, and it's on demand. Once you know what you're doing, it's literally a faucet that you can turn on and off depending upon your budget and your needs and, all this kind of stuff. It's great.
Exactly.
Okay, welcome back to the Hot 5 round. We're looking for some quick answers to these juicy questions. Justin, what is the one thing you do every day that makes you money?
One thing I do every single day is I sit down. By the way, I should preface this by saying I have a very set routine. So every day I'm up. For me, it's 3:30 in the morning, but that's another story for another day. But I get up early, and I actually have a set number of things I do. Some of them are personal to get my mindset right and just feel motivated and inspired. But then eventually I'll get to my business objectives for the day. And the one thing I look at every single day is how do we improve our membership product? We have two membership products, Best Quality PLR and Tools for Motivation, self-help and business-related PLR. How do we improve the customer experience that already exists, and how do we get more people to join that membership? Every single day we're asking that question, and then we make sure that all of the actions that we take throughout a week, at least in some way, add to that customer base. So we make it better by obviously hiring better outsourcers to help create our products, improving our processes. We get more people into it by evaluating what we're going to promote. So I just explained to you a sales funnel where we're promoting a membership on the back end of that. That last sales funnel I created a totally new video that explains the membership in a different way. It increased. It actually happened to work. So in this case, we actually increased. We saw a larger jump in the number of people that actually joined the membership percentage-wise than we did the last time we ran something like this. So that's a little metric I can use saying, okay, well, this is a sales pitch video I'm going to use from now on. Remove the video from all the old sales funnels. So it's always just looking at what we already have, how do we do it better, and how do we get more people to buy into this growing asset of ours.
Awesome. When you look at the marketplace, where do you see the biggest potential for growth?
Are you talking about in my business or just in general?
I think just in general, when we look at online marketing, where do you think it's headed?
I think this might probably going to be skewed to my world and my customers the way I see it, but I think the biggest area for growth is people realizing, and I'm not talking about people that are just in marketing circles, but just in general, people like me that came from the corporate world, realizing that we have skills that we're sitting on right now, that a company's paying us whatever number of dollars a year to go in there and do stuff for them, that we can equally monetize those skills and those abilities and experiences that we've gained over all these years under the umbrella of our own business, if we learn how to package that up in the form of either coaching or services, or more importantly products, because then it's not you're trading time for dollars like you're doing right now at your job. I think that's a huge area for growth because there's literally thousands of niches and sub niches where people coming from who knows what they do in their day job. What I would probably find a lot of your skills really helpful to help me in my business. But if you don't have a product that teaches me what that's in your head, then I can't learn that, and you can't make any money from those skills. So I think it's people realizing that the ability is there, and that it's not all that hard. You grab a laptop, you do a podcast, you have a mic and a webcam, right? And you sit there and you turn out 6 or 7 modules about things that you've been doing for the last 10 years and package it up and sell it to a market that needs it. I think if people realize that, there's going to be a drastic change in the online business world.
I love it. Do you have a software or app that you could recommend to us? Something that maybe saves time or money or whatever it might be?
Yeah, definitely. It's actually free for the first level. It's called Asana, Asana. Yeah, Asana. It's a project management tool. Have you heard of it?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, cool. It's free up to, I think, 10 or 12 team members, and it's just beautiful. It's a web-based interface, and it's very intuitive to use. It basically allows you to create as many projects as you like, create activities inside of those projects, and assign the activities to workers in your queue or in your outsourcing team, or maybe you have staff that work beside you in your office right now. And it all email enables every task. It allows you to attach either Dropbox or direct attachments to have seamless communication. So for us, we have, at any given PLR product, we have between 10 and 12 resources that will help us build a product. That's a lot of people, right? We have somebody writing an ebook. We have a graphic designer putting together some of the marketing materials. We have editors that go through and make sure everything reads well. We might have an audio person that does all the voiceovers. I can't tell, without Asana, I can't tell where the product is in its life cycle without it. So with Asana, I can go, okay, where's project A? I can see, oh, the voiceover guy's done. The graphics guy hasn't even started yet. That's a problem. So I can pinpoint problems early in the process, but I can also get sort of a higher level, 30,000-foot view of where everything is. In my business, we may have 25, 30 projects on the go at any time. So for me, as somebody who kind of managed this whole thing, I get a higher level view, but I can also drill right down to a task and see, okay, this voiceover guy missed a step here because we didn't explain it right there. And I can see the exact steps. So if you're not using Asana, I highly recommend it. We're still actually at the free level. We haven't cracked into that paid level yet, even though in my opinion, I think we have a pretty big team, but here we are using this awesome piece of software without paying.
Awesome. What is your favorite song lyric?
That's a good one. I'm gonna go with "I Believe I Can Fly" by R. Kelly. It sounds kind of cheesy, but the reason I like it is it's mostly just a personal reason. My kids love the what is it, Space Jam movie,
Yes, Bugs Bunny and
yeah,
Michael
exactly.
Jordan.
So I just picture my kids singing that song, and it just kind of makes me smile and puts me in a good mood, which I think for all of us as entrepreneurs, sometimes you just want to tear your hair out. You're stressed, right? There's customers that are angry, or deadlines that are missed, or you didn't make enough money to pay whatever, right? So then suddenly I can just think of that song, think of my kids. But also it reminds me of Michael Jordan, who's in himself, it's like he's a really inspiring story, right? He's a character or it's a real guy that just achieved some amazing things in his life. And for me, I draw a lot of inspiration in my life by studying people who have done really big things. It doesn't even matter what it is. If somebody's achieved something that was so far beyond what would ever be expected of them, I like to study those people and find things that, at least at a small level, that I can borrow and use as inspiration in my life. So it kind of reminds me of somebody that I look up to that has really done something phenomenal. I like to think that being an entrepreneur is similar, right? We're taking ideas and we're creating, solutions and products that are really just out of thin air. It's out of our own creations. And to me, that's pretty cool. Because before, for me, 6 years ago, I had no clue how to do that. And I was 100% reliant on this big company to take care of me. And now I've become 100% self-reliant. And I think of those kind of stories, it just motivates and inspires me to keep going.
And now you can fly, man.
That's right.
Do you have a book that you would like to recommend to us?
Yeah, tough one, man, because there's so many to pick from. But on the note of that, the Michael Jordan, I'm going to go with a book called Mastery by Robert Greene. He's actually well known for the 48 Laws of Power as well. But Mastery is a phenomenal book about what it takes to master anything in your life, whether it's a business skill or he profiles athletes as well. I recommend it for all entrepreneurs, whether you're starting or you've been in business for 20 plus years, because it breaks down the process of what it takes to become excellent. And a lot of it we've already talked about in this interview. You have to pour in a ton of time and energy, well beyond what you probably even assume. And once you do that, then you're just scratching the surface of what it takes to actually be really good at what you do. So I highly recommend you read that book to put your head in the right place of what it's really going to take to succeed as an entrepreneur.
Well, we're back with our bonus question. Okay, Justin, are you ready?
As ready as I'll ever be.
If you had to start over today and all you had was a laptop, $1,000, but you knew everything that you know now, what would you do to start to generate income in the next 30 days?
Wow. So my default answer to this type of question or scenario, it's fun to brainstorm this, but we're looking at 30 days. As you know, 30 days goes by like that. You're not going to be able to generate a ton of momentum no matter what you know. So I always default to sell a service because you're sitting on some skill right now. There's something you know, there's something you've been good at. So for me, what I would do, day one, I want to make sure I get to some money before 30 days is up. So on day one, I would literally get a whiteboard or whatever and start brainstorming all of my marketable, monetizable skills. Okay, I know how to build a WordPress website. I know how to write. I've got a decent voice on record audio. I've got a microphone somewhere I can record audio for people. I've got a video camera. I'm good on screen, whatever. List all of those things out. Then I would actually start thinking about ways to monetize one or more of them. So how do you do that? Well, you've got to find people that are willing to exchange a bit of money to save them time. So I would go as quickly as possible and start making friends, or if I already have an existing network, I think everybody does, even if you're just starting out, go into your existing network and take your list and tell everybody you know. Like, tap on shoulders, go to LinkedIn, call people, whatever it is you have to do. This would also be day one, by the way. And I would tell them, I've got this list of things that I do really, really well, and I'm willing to provide them at a discount. Wouldn't even worry about a website, nothing. And I would hustle my services. I would try to get a couple of clients in the first week, which I think, correct me if you disagree, but I think that's very doable if you have the hustle and if you need the money. It's really doable if you have some bills due in 30 days. Yeah. So I could probably pull in some clients. I figure I could pull in some clients in a day or two, maybe a week at total max, and try to get at least some of them to pay part of it up front. Not everybody's going to want to do that for somebody just starting out, but if you really hustle and you're persuasive and you try enough different angles, you can get some money coming in. Because I don't think $1,000 is going to do you much anyways. I would try to get my own money coming in. Now, you have that $1,000 that you gave me, so I would try to take that money as far as I could with the services that I did sell. So let's say it was getting a bunch of audio work done. You've got this podcast you're doing right now, and people have given you some supplementary material. You want somebody to narrate it into really good sounding MP3s as a bonus. Great, I would do that for you for a fee. I would try to outsource all of that so I could spend the rest of my month finding a really, really successful business person to go and make friends with and help them get on the radar and do whatever it is. So maybe it's somebody I really respect and they just launched a product and I found some real holes in their sales letter, like typos or problems. I would go and actually make the corrections for them on my own computer and send it to them. Say, look, your sales letter was great. Found some errors here. I fixed it up for you. Here's the copy if you'd like to use it. And I would use that. I would do whatever I could to get on the radar. And I would use that opportunity to get in with them and try to help them make more money any way I possibly could as a way to then borrow from their expertise. So I would literally sell those services and kind of flip it with my money and spend the rest of the month getting in touch with somebody who's really, really influential. Because at the end of 30 days, you'll have a way to make money through their contacts, through whatever you've learned from them, and they'll probably just bring you on for their next project because you were so awesome.
I love it, man. Do you have any parting thoughts for the Peak Marketer family? And also, how can our listeners connect with you?
Sure. So yeah, definitely final thought, because I'm in the PLR or content licensing business, I strongly recommend that you take a look at all forms of content licensing. I think the word PLR is kind of a negative connotation in a lot of people's minds. They think it's junk content. I've got my own catalog, and some of the people I do business with, we spend a lot of time and money building really good quality material that can save you a ton of time and money and really provide great valuable information for your customers. So let's say you already have a membership site, people are paying you a monthly fee for training. You could grab a whole bunch of good quality PLR and stockpile it full of additional stuff that will make them not want to cancel. So that's just one little tiny scenario. But I strongly recommend you take a look for good quality PLR because I see a lot of people not leveraging that strategy enough, and it can make you a lot more money. So not just my stuff, like I said, anybody's stuff. Now, if you want to look at my stuff and get a hold of me, bestqualityplr.com would be a great place to start. Um, there's a support link there, it goes directly to my team. You can through my support desk, you can get a hold of me on my cell. I'm not going to give it out on the podcast, but you can definitely get a hold of me if you want to chat with me on the phone. I also have a training link on that website. It's a huge training repository of free material. If you are interested in content licensing or PLR, or even just some of the concept we've been talking about today, a lot of the stuff I've talked about in other trainings anyways, highly recommend you take a look at that.
Great. Justin, love it, man. Thank you for all of the awesome knowledge. And
Thank you. This is
thanks for
fun, man.
sharing your journey with us.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate you having me. This is great. Looking forward to watching all your episodes. This is awesome.
Thank you so much, man. Bye-bye.
Thanks. See ya.